Well, this is the day the Lord has made, and we're here to rejoice and be glad in it. We greet you this morning in the name of Jesus our Christ, and certainly I want to thank you for being part of the Hope TV family today. Your support means the world to me. Welcome to Hope TV. I'm Dewey Smith, and I'm excited that you tuned in to get a daily dose of hope. Whether you tuned in from Apple TV, Roku, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, the DeweySmith.org website, House Folk Atlanta website, House Folk Atlanta app. Have you tuned in? We're grateful. I'm so thankful that you're part of our community this morning. And if you tune in today, why don't you drop me a line, let me know the city, the state, and the country from which you're viewing. We take your viewership very, very seriously here. Some of you have been with us. Thanks for being a part of the fam. Those in for the first time, welcome to Hope TV. Once you become a part of the fam, we don't let you go. So thank you that you're part. We started this platform back in the month of March of this year. I call it my meager attempt to stay in touch with the members of our local community. And what started in March as just a meager attempt to stay in touch with our local community has turned into a global platform. Since March 19th up until today, we've now added 25 programs to our cadre of shows. We are airing now 7, 8 shows every day through the Hope TV, and I'm just excited that you're part. So I really, really am. I just want you to know that we don't take your viewership lightly. It means a world to us, and so I'm just excited that you're here with us. I really am. It's amazing to me. It really is, and I thank God for you, Annette. Good to see you, see Bernard Mays. Welcome. Good morning, Tasha LeCount. Warford, good morning, Tina. Good morning, good morning. Vanessa Jumper, Columbia, South Carolina. Amy Robinson, good bless you this morning. Good to see you. Glenda Hickson, Fort Lauderdale, God bless you. Veronica Spencer Frank, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's well. Of course, a storm came um, uh, through the Gulf Coast and it's made it through Georgia. 600,000 people here in Georgia and Metro Atlanta without power. Last time I checked, we had issues this morning as well, so it's a whole lot. But welcome, I'm glad you're here. Shannon Addison, Loretta Whitfield, good morning, everybody. So happy to have you here with us. It means the world to us that you're here. Hope you're blessed. Andrea Gaddy from Pennsylvania, Gwenda Blowen from Riverdale, Georgia. Good morning, Judith Hampton Thompson. Good to see you this morning. Honored to have you with us. And certainly a privilege and honor and a blessing that you're with us. It means the world to us. It really, really does. LaDonna Michelle Williams from Chicago. Good morning to you. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Excited that you're with us, spending this time with us today. Really, really want you to know that everybody who's tuned for reaching out, thank you for sharing your comments. Certainly a blessing. As some of you know, we stream through about 14, 15 different platforms. Good to see you, Vicky Spriggs, Goldsboro, North Carolina, Janice Williams from Asheville, North Carolina. No power. Darcel, you have no power. Well, hey, you're here with us, so to God be the glory. Amen. At least we're sane enough to know we have no power. So good morning. Good morning, Ursula Williams from Decatur. Good morning. We had the wind come through. That's right. Wind was up to 50, 60 mile per hour winds. And hey, but we're here. We're here. And, when you think about things can always be tough. So the fact that we're here, that is certainly a blessing. I thank God for you. We're trying to grow the platform, and it is expanding rapidly. It really, really is. We have about 14 different platforms to which we stream our content, and we wanted one centralized repository for all things Hope TV. And now we have a website called thehopetv.com, and it's been up now for about 3 or 4 weeks. And man, your response to the website has been tremendous. They showed me the map a couple of days ago, just to show us where the views were coming from, and it's amazing to see where the map was when we were first launched, and then I have any spots, any spaces on that field, and now that map is filling up. It's amazing. It shows you where people are viewing from, and so you can go to hopetv.com. You can watch us live. You can view us live. I mean, I'm on live now. You can see some of our old shows. We have a daily show. Get up and exercise every morning at 8:30, Monday through Saturday. We have our daily TV guide is up there. You can go on anytime and find out what's being aired. We have shows for women with a real read. My God, Sister Lisa, show for women, a show for men. Katie Bowe, one of the top gospel radio announcers in America, have a show called Man Up. Married to Billy, one of the top political strategists in America, does a show called Town Hall that deals with social activism, and Mary does a phenomenal job and has a powerful show come out this Sunday as well. We have a show for married couples, for singles, for youth, for our senior adults. We have a show for financial freedom. We have one on mental health. My goodness, we have a show. Alton Walker, a local comedian, travels, who's here, also a minister, has a show called That's Funny to Me, Financial Freedom. So just a cadre of courses for your perusal. So check it out, hopetv.com. Sign up for our newsletter. And you also can, you want to be a participant on the show, you can send us an email there. If you want to be a contestant on the show, upcoming shows, you can send information there as well. So I'd love to hear from you, Hope TV. Also, send me some funny videos for my Friday Night Live. Everybody, if you haven't watched our Friday Night Live, get your nap tomorrow, Friday, and get up every Friday night at 11 p.m. for Friday Night Live, which is like it's supposed to be an hour comedy. Sometimes it turns into 2 hours, hour and a half, but it's a good Friday Night Live show just to kind of unwind and laugh a little bit and just kind of have some commentary. But it's a pretty powerful show. I can't wait to check it out. So send some fun videos for it. Now to that end, I need everybody who's not yet voted, go ahead and get out to vote. If your states offer early voting, please don't hesitate, don't procrastinate. Vote. Whatever you do, let me encourage you to not send your absentee ballots in the mail. Do not do that. If you send your absentee ballots in the mail, they won't make it. They won't be counted. And all kinds of litigation is going on now all over the country by certain individuals to stop votes from being counted. So if the post office can't guarantee that ballot will be there by Tuesday. So every state has a different kind of policy and different kind of procedure. So we need you, if you have an absentee ballot, find the designated drop-offs, the official drop-offs, and you can go to a polling precinct or the Board of Elections. But do not put them in the mail. Whatever you do not put it in the mail if there's an absentee ballot. Now, what I would encourage you to do is early vote and see where you can take it, where it's going to be certified. But do not put it in the mail. Again, do not put it in the mail. But you can check your early voting precincts by just going on vote.org and make sure your address. Sometimes some crazy things are happening. A lot of it, I believe, is intentional. Some may be unintended, but a lot of crazy things are happening with people's registrations. So by all means, please check it out and go and cast your vote. This is the most critical issue of our lifetimes. Go and vote, please, ma'am. Please, sir, go and vote. Now, if you're in Metro Atlanta and you need a ride to the polls, if you're in Metro Atlanta and you need a ride to the polls, listen, our church is partnering with an organization called NACA. We've been partners with them for 11 years. And we've been partnering to provide free transportation to 100,000 Georgians, those who can't get to the polls due to the bus routes being shut off due to COVID-19 or those who are having issues with transportation. Listen, if you call us, we will come and get you. We have over 100 vans that are situated at our church, and every morning we're dispatching vans to go and pick Metro Atlantans up to take them to the polls. So if you need a ride to the polls, you can call us at 1-866-495-6222. Again, that number is 1-888-495-6222. It's a beautiful thing. Every van is fully equipped with PPE, with disinfectant, with hand sanitizer. Our drivers will come pick you up from your home or your place of business or wherever you stipulate. We will come to get you, take you to the polls, wait on you while you vote, and then take you back home or to your desired destination. And so we don't want there to be any excuses if you need a ride to the polls. It's a beautiful thing to see those vans there, I'm telling you, every morning. And God has blessed us to do this, and we're excited about being able to help people. I want to thank NACA, our partner, for partnering with us again to do something empowering for the community. And so if you need a ride to the polls, now if you're not in Metro Atlanta and you don't have a ride to the polls, call us anyway, and we'll try to find a comparable resource or partnership in your area to make sure that you can get to the polls. So roll to the polls, souls to the polls. Get out and cast your vote. Very, very important that we do it. All right. So thank you in advance. Listen, we're going to get right into our devotional today. Morning Dew is so special to me, and I'm excited. Out of all of our shows, this is amongst my favorite. I love all of them. This is amongst my favorite. I get a chance to share some devotion with you, and I want to get right into it today. We've been studying from the book of Philippians, and I like the book of Philippians because, as I said to you, it's been called the book of mental health. Philippians has been called the New Testament book of mental health, and that's really, really special for me. Not only because I've been an advocate for mental health, and we established a counseling center in our church many years ago, and I've been doing reentry programs for men and women since the 90s. You know, in my late 20s, we had a whole program for men who had been incarcerated or had a history of substance abuse. We purchased apartments in Macon, Georgia, 16-unit apartment complex where we would house men who had been in prison or had been on drugs, and the local justice department would work with us, and rather than incarcerate some of these guys who had drug addiction, they would send them to our program. We would house them for over a year, feed them leadership program, clinical evaluations, detoxifications. Our goal was to produce independent, whole men of God. So this was something that we did without a lot of government subsidy. A church in Macon, Georgia, and over 100 plus men came to our program. And so I really began to really do a whole lot with this counseling and mental health even before then. And so I've been an advocate for this 30 years of people getting good, prioritizing mental health. And one of the things I noticed that in the faith community, sometimes the faith community doesn't have an appreciation for the sciences or for health community. Sometimes there's a chasm between faith community and mental health communities. And it's really sad because sometimes we either over spiritualize or demonize everything. And some people aren't full of demons. There are mental health and emotional health struggles. And sometimes we over spiritualize things and we don't realize that we are body, we're spirit, we're also soul. And that's mental, and that's emotional, that's personality, that's attitude. And I believe that just like God works through medicine, just like God allows us to go to our beautician or barber to help us with our hair. If you have eye trouble, you can go to an optometrist. If you want to go get your toenails done, you can go and get, manicure, pedicure. If you have a toothache, you can go to the dentist. You understand? If you have a stomach ache, you can go and get some Pepto-Bismol. If you got a headache, take a Tylenol. Many of us have been able to process all these things, but we don't process issues of the mind and the soul. And unfortunately, because of that, there's a stigma in terms of mental health in many faith communities, and it's even worse in the African American community. Some of my white colleagues, it's funny, when they talk about going to therapy, they talk about, hey, I'm going to see the therapist. They talk about it like we talk about going to the grocery store, going to the ball game, or going to get a Popeye's chicken sandwich. So casual and cavalier. But African Americans in our communities, it's still such a stigma. And sometimes our faith doesn't harmonize with sciences, with these social sciences and psychotherapy, etc. As we see even now, people of faith having issues accepting science about the coronavirus. Would be climate change and global warming. For some reason, the faith community, men in the faith community, not everybody, but men in the faith community, doesn't understand that God works through science and biology, and it's important. And what I like about Philippians is this book is a perfect complement to sciences. If you strip the faith perspectives from Philippians and pull out the psychological, emotional, mental um, nuances. You would think Paul, went to school for counseling or therapy, because the approach and the way he presents it does not go against science, but it harmonizes with it. Many atheists who are therapists or people who don't have faith respect Philippians and the approach Paul takes, not just spiritually, but from that whole science perspective and in terms of mental health. It's called a mental health book. And Paul writes it when he's in a very difficult situation himself. I mean, he's been incarcerated in Rome. He's been incarcerated in Philippi. He's been shipwrecked, beaten. He's been in perils of land and on sea, all because of his faith. And seemingly his issues arose once he accepted faith. And so he's in jail. He should be frustrated. He should be fearful about his own mortality. His life lays in full tilt. He knows that death is imminent. He knows that death is in proximity. And even as he processes the possibility of dying because of his faith, because of his commitment, he makes this startling declaration in the first chapter of Philippians. He said, listen, for me, if I live as Christ, if I die as gain. What balance, what sense of centering, and so the mind and perspective, Philippians is replete with references to the mind and perspective and emotional health. In chapter 2, he says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. Talks again about the mind. Chapter 3 talks about, that I might know him in the fellowship of his sufferings and the power of his resurrection. Chapter 4, he talks about, whatever things being lovely, honest, pure, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. The peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your heart and your mind. So every chapter is laden with some type of reference to, balance emotionally and balance mentally. And so it's just a powerful book, because I think as Paul writes, with the threat of death all around him, with struggles, with wickedness in the government, so many parallels really between Philippians, when you look at it, and where we're living now. So many things that we can lift from Philippians to apply to now. I've been trying to do the past couple of weeks, months rather, since we've been in Philippians. I mean, wickedness in government, disregard for the people, issues with churches gathering, but that was persecution. I think, I think some people trying to make our personal situation persecution, which I don't think is persecution. I think it's just public safety. A lot of issues, Paul realized that things have come to try to get him off center emotionally. The threat of death and the idea that you might not live tomorrow, what's happening tomorrow. All these things were happening in the first century for Paul. But yet, in spite of that, he's able to maintain a solid perspective, man. And I think that's the word I want to share with you and I today, that we can have a solid perspective, regardless of what's happening around us, with the threat of death around us, with wickedness in high places around us. When therapists, I think virtual therapy has increased about 400% since the quarantine. We see it here a lot now. And I'm so excited about that. Even teachers now, been talking to some educators, and even in educational schools, education systems, they're trying to figure out how can they have some mental health nuances and mental health programming for some of the teachers, because I don't think we really think about everybody who's affected by that. Imagine kindergarten and first grade teachers. Imagine teachers who this is their first time teaching. Imagine that. Imagine teachers who've been doing it for 20, 30 years and have a system. Imagine trying to educate our children in this kind of society. Imagine when it seems like they say, Pastor, some of the parents don't care. Some of the kids don't have Wi-Fi. Imagine the stress on our children, on our college students. I'm a college student. My son is a sophomore in Morehouse. It's supposed to be the best time of his life, and yet you're now stuck with your parents. You know what I mean? So I don't think we really have thought about just the magnitude of how this whole pandemic has affected people mentally. And I think really, and this will be discussed for the rest of our lifetime. We are now a case study. We'll be in history books, having survived these times. Uh, I'll be writing books on pastoring the pandemic, getting people through the pandemic. We've never had that type of literature before. So we're living in that, and I think the effect of mental health, we don't really understand it. There'll be years and decades before we understand what really happened to us, not just physically. So while they're trying to figure out a plan for vaccination and get this thing under control, the mental health nuances and aspects of it are just as far-reaching. And so that's why I like the book of Philippians, because it's called the book of mental health. And Paul talks about the importance of the mind and thinking and meditating and allowing the peace of God to guard our hearts as well as our minds. And today, we're in chapter 4 of Philippians, and today it's powerful. And I want to talk about today. I want to talk about today something that's so important today. We're going to look at Philippians. So you're going to put that scripture up for me, because it's so very powerful. We're going to look at Philippians today, and I'm telling you, it's going to bless your hearts today. Look at Philippians chapter 4. Let me get this right here. My phone is acting up. Look at Philippians 4. Y'all ready? Y'all see it? I want y'all to see it. You got it right there. Look what it says. It talks about the Philippian people. And it's so powerful that he talks about them. And he says something to them that's very important in Philippians. He says to them, you Philippians well know, he said that I will never, ever forget something. I'm not going to forget. I want to talk about that before, because it's so important. Not forgetting. And he says, I need you to understand something. That you're going to be sure that I'll never forget you guys. So I'm not going to forget you. I'm not going to forget you because of what you've done for me. I'm not going to forget you. And I love Paul for that, because Paul has the mentality and the perspective. He has the mentality and he has the perspective that's so very important. That is so incredibly important, and so incredibly important that when people have done something for you, you cannot allow anything to change what has happened. You cannot allow what people have done to go unnoticed. I think that's so important because in this day and time which we live, people have a tendency to forget what you do for them. And it's so true, because we have a tendency even to do when it comes to God. We even forget sometimes what God has done for us. And it's unfortunate that Paul is like, listen, you guys have blessed me even during times of craziness. And I'm grateful that you blessed me. I'm grateful that you looked out for me. And because of that, he says, here's the main key. He said, what I want you to get is this. You've blessed me, and I didn't ask for it. And I want to come back to that moment because it's so important. You blessed me when I wasn't looking for it. You blessed me when and not even because I needed it. And that's a relationship that's happened with Paul and the Philippian people. And I really wish I knew what was in I know what's in his mind. But when I look at Paul's life, Paul has a tendency to be very insular and very self-dependent in terms of, I'm going to get it done. When I noticed this, I wish I could never do. I've done some psychoanalysis and had some conversations about the prophets. I've never really done one on Paul before with some therapists. How Paul be described relationally or emotionally. But he's very self-reliant. He's a tent maker, and he makes it known that depending on people for anything, Paul doesn't like depending on anybody. Paul doesn't like needing anything for anybody. And I think a lot of us are like that. I like Paul from this regard. Paul does not have undue expectations of people. Paul does not have a spirit of entitlement. That's one thing I love about Paul. There's no entitlement from him. If Paul was like, if I got to make it happen, I can. You know what I mean? And if you don't do it, you're not going to stop me from. You're not going to stop me from accomplishing my goals. And I like that about Paul. I think it's so important because when I look at a lot of the young leaders, not just young leaders, but a lot of new leaders, it seems with a lot of us, it seems as though we want everybody to do for us, and it's fine, it's wonderful. But I like the grit that Paul has. Paul has a grit about himself that transcends what others can do. I think that's a great lesson, that he's not dependent on what others do for him. But he says, however, while I don't feel entitled, while I'm not dependent, while my ministry is not going to be predicated upon what you do, which I love, and I think it's so important that we stop basing what we do on how people treat us, that we stop living our lives needing people to come through. For me, it's almost like the expectation that when people are there, when people are believable, when people are reliable, when people come through for you, it's almost for me like it's a chair on top. It's a chair on top, because what I realize is most people will not support you. And I want to get into that because Paul talks about goals. He kind of shows how he garnered support. Look what it says in Philippians. He said, I want you to know something, Philippians. Put that scripture back up there. He says, I want you to well know. I want you to be sure of something. Okay? Know this. You well know, and you can be sure of this. And you can be sure that I'm not going to forget this. Okay? Because I like it. I'm going to come back to it in a moment. That when I first left Macedonia province, he says, when I first left the province, venturing out with the message. Look what he says now. He says, when I first left the province, and ventured out from the Macedonian province, he says, here's what happened. When I did that initially, he says, I had a goal. He says, you knew my goal, and I know my goal. I had a goal, because I'm talking today about goals. I'm talking about the importance of goals today, and I want you to get this. It's really goals, gifts, and generosity. That's the whole thing we're talking about today. Because he says, here's what got me. He said that I haven't forgotten my goals, even during this time of Greco-Roman quarantine. That I have not forgotten my goals, even when civilization and society is missing. I haven't forgotten my goals. When all this crazy around me, I haven't forgotten my goals. I haven't forgotten my goals. I've had goals regardless of what's happening. And I still have goals. My goals have not been thwarted because of what I'm going through. I haven't abandoned my goals. I haven't allowed what society's done to stop me from my goals. I haven't allowed the threat of death to stop me from my goals. I haven't allowed what they think about. I allowed people to stop me from my goals. And I had one goal when I left the Macedonian province. And here's what is interesting. When I came to y'all, okay, I came to y'all with a goal. This was really shouting me. I only came to y'all because I had a vision in Acts 16 when a man said, come on to Macedonia, help us. I left that area of southwestern Asia, going over to you guys, and got there in Philippi and cast the spirit out of that girl in Philippi, ended up getting locked up. I came to y'all with a goal, with a message. Okay, I came to Macedonia to help y'all. I came there to preach the gospel. Okay, and I got beat up and locked up along with Silas. And when I left Macedonia, when I came there with a message, I came there with a goal, and when I left there with a goal. Can I tell you something how that shouts me? It shocks me because what Paul is saying is all the craziness that I experienced in Macedonia didn't stop my goal. Just because y'all tried to abuse and beat me and mistreat me, you can do all that talking, all that abuse, all that mistreatment. But what you're not going to do is stop my vision, stop my plan. And I came as a and what a word in Domestic Violence Month. What a word for those of us who've gone through challenges in relationships, whether it be relational, romantic, spiritual, platonic. What a challenge that whoever you encounter and whoever you meet and engage, whether they be receptive or whether they be rejected, their receptivity and their rejection does not stop you from completing your goal. He said, when I came with a goal. And even though some of y'all mishandled me with that, when I left with a goal. I just want to drop in your spirit that do not allow what you have faced in 2020 to shift you from your assignment. Do not, just like Paul said, I had this trouble in Macedonia. I had no idea. Here's this thing. When Paul left Mysia, Bithynia, those regions, going over to Philippi, to Macedonia, he didn't know he was going to get locked up now. He didn't know he was going to run to a slave or demon spirit. He didn't know they were going to put him in jail and beat him up. He didn't know what to expect. Okay? I'm not sure if he knew that was going to happen. If he still would have gone, he probably would have because he was so resolute. But what I like about it is people's rejection does not make him so insecure where he forgets his assignment. And I just want to throw that in. And I want to share that with you. Don't let what happened in 2020. Don't let what happens with this election. If you came in 2020 with a goal, when you leave 2020, you're going to leave with the same goal. Only goals. Just like Paul went to Macedonia with goals and got some trouble there. When he left Macedonia, the whole province said, I still have my goals. I was singular and focused. Listen, if you get married, have your goals. If the marriage don't work and you get divorced, have your goals. If you start a business, have goals. If that business doesn't work out and you got to close, make some adjustment, have your goals. If you go to the bank, try to get a loan, have goals. If the bank denies you from the small business loan, have your goals. If you had a business partner when you went in, have goals. If you find a business partner was a crook, when you come out, have your goals. Do not let what happens in the Macedonian province strip you from what God is assigned to do. Very, very important. The goals. What goals do you have? What are you trying to accomplish? And I think maybe this is a good time for shifting. Because here we are, family. Listen, we got 9 weeks left of this year. We're 9 weeks and 3 days from a new year. 9 weeks. We're 9 weeks from a new year. What's that? 9 weeks? We're about 66 days. We're 66 days. We're in the 300 day tomorrow, right? So we're less than 66 days away from a new year. And here's my question. Right now, as I'm still anticipating some things that God's going to do for me this year, I'm still also in the process of anticipating and creating and initiating some possibilities for next year. I'm already thinking about what you're going to do next year, but I haven't given up on this year. Let me tell you something. Some stuff God showed me for 2020. I've been working on since 2013. And some stuff I saw in 2013 is just coming to pass in 2020. But here's the reality. But I couldn't allow what happened from 2014 to 2016 to 2019 to stop me from those goals. I don't know who you are, but I want you to say, listen, I've come too far to quit. I want you to say, I'm pressing toward tomorrow. I'm going, it's full steam ahead. I'm forgetting those things that are behind me, and I'm pressing. And I came to tell you today that you are anointed to press. You are anointed to continue. You are anointed to succeed. The challenge is, for a lot of us, goals are just something we talk about with our mouths. But I need you to put some pen to some paper. That need you to put some faith some feet up underneath your faith, right? You can't be deterred. Whatever it is, if I ask you, what do you want to have in the next 66 days? What would you say? If I ask you, okay, what do you need to accomplish? Or what are your goals for the next 9 weeks and 3 days? What would you say? A lot of times we just go, I'm expecting great things. That's too ethereal. That's too, listen, I don't need optimistic oratory or hermeneutical hype. We need to have some tangible, concrete goals and plans. What are your goals financially for the next 66 days? What are your goals around the house? What are your goals for your business? What do you want to accomplish for the next 66 days? Paul, when he left Southwest Asia, when he was forbidden to go to Mysia, Bithynia, he knew where he was going. He said, I'm going to Macedonia. Why? Because God gave him a vision in the night. A man said, come over here and help us. Y'all hear that? The Spirit blocked him from going certain places. This is all in Acts 16, 1 through 8. You can check it out. He wanted to go here. Spirit wouldn't let him go. Twice the Spirit blocked it. Then a man from Macedonia said, come over here and help us. So he knew where God didn't want him to go. He knew where God wanted him to go. And he knew what he had to do when he got there. Don't go to Mysia, Bithynia. Don't do this. Come over here to Macedonia. Clarity. It's clarity. God will give you clarity on where he wants you to go. And when you get here, you come in to help. Come and help us. Don't take the gospel there. Come over here and help us. God will give us specificity about the goals. God will give us details. If we ask, if we're sensitive, if we're discerning, sometimes you got to fast, sometimes you got to rest. Sometimes our spiritual antennas may be dull, where you can't hear. Ask God, okay, show me where not to go. And if I'm going in a direction you don't want me to go, block it. Lord have mercy. See, we're always thankful about the stuff that God blessed. We should be just as thankful about the stuff God blocked. Woo! That's tweetable. That's Facebookable. I'm thankful about the stuff God blessed. And I'm also thankful about the stuff God blocked. I'm not talking about the devil here. Yeah, God blocked it. Yeah, he blocked some of the plans of the enemy. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the stuff that I may have planned that God blocked. Not the devil trying to kill you, because we know he'll block that. Kurt Carr told us that God blocked it. That's what I'm not talking about. I'm talking about when we had goals and plans that we've been about my mind. I'm going this way. Think it was the right thing to do, and God blocked it. See, you ought to thank God for every relationship, every business, every goal, every vision you had that God blocked. Thank Him for the time that you didn't waste. Thank Him for the resources and energies that you didn't waste. So don't just thank Him for what He blessed. Thank Him for what He blocked. Don't just thank Him for what He provided. Thank Him for what He prevented. So God says, Paul, don't you come to Mysia. Don't you come to Bithynia. Here is your goal. Your goal is to come to Macedonia. Clear. I need you in Macedonia. Because you could be doing the right thing in the wrong place. See? Because you could have gone to Mysia and did what you thought was right. But I need you in Macedonia. Come over here, clear, and help us. And because Paul had clarity on what he was doing and where God wanted him to be, when he ran into trouble there, it didn't stop him from his goal. I speak over your life in the next 66 days that you're going to get with somebody, not just to figure out what's happening in the next 66 days, but really it's also time to start looking to 2021. What do we think, what are we seeing for next year? And I want to say this, stop trying to go back to what was. Don't allow, once God opens your mind up, stop trying to go back. I believe what God is calling for some of us to do is do something different. Something different with your business, something different with your approach. Somebody who's trying to do a restaurant or a business in a building. This may not be the season for that. Your whole business model, it's going to be my location. I'm going to have a restaurant in this spot. I was talking to a guy who had a restaurant years ago, and just so adamant, and the restaurant failed, and talking about what happened and all that. But I want to say this. In this season, don't allow what you think is logical Open your mind up, because God may bless you with an in-home business. God may bless you to use the internet. Somebody asked me the other day, I did an interview on Tuesday. Somebody asked me, Pastor, when we going back to church? I honestly can't say. I want to come back in August. Then I thought we'd be back in October. Then I thought we'd be back by December. I honestly don't know where the numbers are rising. But what I have understood is this: Lord, give me some creativity. Hope TV is a part of creativity, and my goal is to preach the gospel. So how can I do it in the meantime? And I think that's the type of thing we have to ask God. What is my goal? And show me how to do it. So Paul says, put that scripture back up there. I hope that's blessing somebody. I hope it's blessing somebody. And the goals need to be tangible, guys. Here you are talking about be a millionaire in February. Let's be real, okay? You done paid your tithes 2 weeks, and you're making $40,000. You're not gonna be a millionaire by February. Now, I know you won't think I'm raining on parade. Call me what you want to call me. I'm not a pessimist. I'm just being. I'm a realist. You're not gonna be a millionaire by February if you make $4,000 a year and just start paying your tithes. 2 weeks ago, right? And you got $3,000 in the bank. You're not gonna be a millionaire by February. Now, is God able to do it? God surely is. Yes, yeah, you're right. God can give you money out of a fish's mouth, but it's probably highly unlikely. If you're making $40,000 now, you got $3,000 in the bank. You've been paying tithes 2 weeks. It's highly unlikely in October, last Thursday in October 2020, that you can be a millionaire by February 2021. I don't care what the prophet said. I don't care how many times you don't spin around 3 times and call it. I don't care what you grabbed it, called it, hauled it. It's highly unlikely. Is it probable? Is it possible? Yes, all things are possible. Is it probable? No. No, it's not. Is it likely? Absolutely not. Okay? No. Now, y'all might not like that. I'm just being honest with you. I'm saying, when you do your vision board and your goal, I'm going to be meeting about February. No, you ain't. Okay? That's not what's going to happen. That is incredibly unlikely that it's going to happen. Is it possible? All things are possible. I'm saying I want you to establish realistic goals and smart goals and figure out, okay, what's the step? So Paul knew, okay, I can't go to America. America is not here. I can go to Macedonia. He said, when I left Macedonia, when I came to Macedonia, I had a message. And even though I had trouble with some messages, even though I got in trouble there, when I left Macedonia, I still had my message. Okay? So my goal didn't stop. He said, guess what? And when I was doing this, not one church helped out with me. He said, out of all the things I tried to do, over all the places I've been, he said, here's what I realized. He said, I had my goals, and only one church wanted to give. That's deep. That's deep. So I had a goal, right? Had my goal. Only one church helped out. So here's what I'm gonna tell you. The first point I'm gonna get these points right quick, is the realization of assignment. Let me give these 3 points right quick and let y'all go. Realization of assignment. Realization of assignment. You and I must have realization of our assignment. Paul knew what his assignment was, even if he had trouble with the assignment. Paul was clear on what God sent him to do. Before he got to Macedonia, he was clear. Caught all kind of Hades and Gehenna and hell in Macedonia. But when he left Macedonia, he left with his assignment. Woo! When he left a bad relationship, he still had his assignment. When he left a toxic environment, the toxicity did take his assignment. Ooh, that'll preach. That's a whole other message. Isn't that wonderful that what you face in Macedonia can't take your ministry? Isn't it wonderful that the mess can't take your message? Isn't it wonderful that vicissitudes can't take your victory? Are y'all listening to me? Isn't it wonderful that wounds can't prohibit your work unless you allow it. Paul says, I realized my assignment. When I went to Macedonia, I had an assignment. And when I got my honey whipped in Macedonia and left, they whooped my behind, but they didn't take my assignment. Sometimes life will whip your behind. Sometimes people will try to do everything they can to destroy you. Sometimes we allow ourselves to be in the most toxic situations, and some stuff we burn ourselves. But when you are anointed with an assignment, you got to realize that assignment. And don't let anything or anybody hurts, rights, wrongs, ups, downs, vociferous, satanic activity, incurable humanity. Don't you let nothing or nobody stop your assignment. The devil wants your assignment. And he wants to discourage you and distract you through pandemic, through pain, through relationships, through whatever. But realize your assignment. So he has to go. So it's a realization of assignment. Okay? So, but not only do I see realization of assignment, I'm almost finished. Second thing I see is when you have realization of your assignment, you rarely get assistance. Lord have mercy. You rarely get assistance. You rarely get assistance. I need to talk about that for a moment. Put the scripture back in there for a minute. I'm almost finished. I want to dispel some things and not put a bubble in your face, but give you some perspective. Paul says, you Philippians know well, you can be sure, I'll never forget it, that when I first left Macedonian province, when I came to y'all with a message and I left, I still had my message. He said, but here's what I realized. Not one church helped out in the give and take of this work. Not one church helped out in the give and take of this work. He says, except you. You were the only ones. Y'all don't want who offer me anything. You don't want who said, Paul, what do you need? You need a place to stay. When you have to build a temple or synagogue, what do you need, Paul? Nobody offered anything. You're the only one who ever, you got any expenses, Paul, for coming over here? How much did it cost you to get over here? And we know you've been traveling a long time. Need something to eat. Paul, we sending something to help. We're gonna send something to Ephesus, or we're gonna send something to Troas. You know, going to Pamphylia. What? I mean, what do you want to do, Paul? He says, everywhere I went, people were about taking. All the people the majority of people, he says, who I was around, they were takers. I don't want to burst your bubble. I don't want to burst your bubble or bust your bubble, as we say back home. But there are people who will cannibalize you. And they'll use you until they use you up. Sometimes I'm told, they say you're supposed to give until it hurts. And for domestic violence, a lot of us have been using the theme, love is not supposed to hurt. And I want to say something about that. From a domestic violence perspective, yeah, love don't hurt. God has not ordained nobody to put his hands on you. Physically and emotionally abusive relationships, and it's typically for men, is not supposed to hurt. Okay? Nobody should be putting their hands on anybody. Nobody. Okay? Y'all with me? It is not supposed to hurt. Nobody should touch you. No, I don't believe it's the will of God for anybody to be in an abusive situation. Nobody. Okay? Nobody. Okay. But what I want to say to you is this. From a place of domestic violence, love is not supposed to hurt you. Okay? All right? But let me say this. But love does hurt. What do you mean by that, Dewey Smith? What do you mean by that? Well, tell the woman who is getting ready to give birth to a child, and she's falling in love with a child. She ain't even seen it yet. But ask her does the birthing process in 9 months and labor. Ask her does love her. Ask her to love her. Ask the mother who's up at night and when the child is sick and she got to go to work in the morning and she got to be there. Ask her does love her. Ask her when you got to forgive a brother or sister who's broken your heart and you give in to people because you love them and want the best for them and they talk about you. Ask her does it hurt. Let me ask you this. Ask Jesus when he was on the cross. Ask Jesus when he was dying for your sins and mine. Ask him, does love hurt? Yeah, from a domestic violence perspective, love shouldn't hurt. Nobody should ever put their hands on you from that perspective. But I want to say this to you because I want to make sure, because it's very nuanced. Love does hurt. Love can hurt you. Do you think Paul was going to these churches out of hate? Do you think it didn't bother him? Do you think it didn't bother him that he helped all these people and nobody helped that man? Because I don't want you to be delusional. Sometimes when the people you try to help are the main ones who talk about you, it does hurt. So from a domestic violence, that shouldn't hurt. But sometimes when you're giving and serving, and I saw something, when you start a business and nobody supports you, it can hurt. It can hurt. And so what Paul says is, listen, he says, I've been out with a message and nobody helped out with the give and take. It bothered him. It hurt him. Do you know why I know it bothered him? Because he remembered. If it didn't bother him, he knew that only somebody who helped him would have lived. You can't tell me that it hurt him. Because as human beings, when you bless people, you want people to bless you back. And some of you will know who your friends are when you do something. Start a business. Find out who supports you. Find out who's there when you need something. Let me tell you something. And when people support you, let me tell you something. Don't ever take it for granted. When people love you, when people love you and look out for you, you better love and look out for them. You better love who love you. Listen, you better appreciate you. And Paul, I believe he's hurt by it. I really do. Because you wouldn't keep a record. He noticed every place I've been. Nobody said anything. They ain't said thank you. They ain't supported. People so quick sometimes, do it, go out and do it. But when it's time for support, sometimes the people you think will support you will not do it. Let me tell you something here. I want to give you this last principle. When you realize your assignment, understand this. You will rarely get assistance sometimes from the people that you think you should get it from. That's the whole point. When you realize your assignment, you will rarely get assistance from the people that you think you should. Now you gotta say, Pastor, that's so sad. That sounds so fatalistic and so negative and so defeatist. You call it defeatist, I call it realistic. When you realize your assignment, you'll rarely get assistance from the people you think you should. So remember this thing. Some of the same people you blessed will see once. Some of the people that you have supported will be the same ones who will try to assassinate you. Some of the main people who I've assisted have become my assassins. I'm going to say it again. Some of the people who I've assisted the most are the same ones who tried to assassinate me the most for no reason. And it'll jade you if you're not careful. But remember this, may bless you. You and I don't reap where we sow. We will reap what we sow. Love can't hurt. When you love somebody, you do all you can for them, and they give you that big behinds to kiss, it can hurt. It should hurt domestic violence, but love can't hurt. That's what Paul is saying. I did all this for everybody else, and you don't want to help me. So when you realize your assignment, you're radical assistance. But let me bless you. God never promised us that you will reap where you sow. He did promise us you'll reap what you sow. Stop expecting people you blessed to bless you back. Because often the people you've assisted will be the ones who will try to assassinate you. So you don't reap where you sow, you will reap what you sow. So if somebody that you blessed doesn't bless you back, don't worry about it. Because God has sent a blessing to somebody that you don't even know. Woo! I'm not telling you what I heard. Some of the biggest blessings in my life came from folk who I didn't even know. And if I stay, and here's the thing, don't let them stop you from doing your assignment. Because your blessings don't come based upon how they treat you. Your blessings come based upon your fulfilling of the assignment. They come through great. They don't expect it. Let me keep going, okay? So realization of assignment, rather receive assistance. One more point, let you go. I hope y'all get this. All right? And the last point I want to give you is reciprocity in assets. Reciprocity in assets. I'm talking about gifts. I'm talking about goals, gifts, and generosity. That's the whole thing today. Goals, gifts, and generosity. That's the thing. That's how I put it. When I read that, it's like when you do the SAT, read this and what's the best thing to describe it. That's the best way I can describe these two verses. Goals, gifts, and assignment. Realization of assignment, radical assistance, reciprocity and assets. Put it back up there, I'm finished. What he said. Dang bless me. Reciprocity and assets. I put the scripture back up and I'm finished. We'll let y'all go one more time. He says this. You Philippians well know, and you can be sure I'll never forget it. That when I first left Macedonia Providence, that's my venture out with the masses. Right? That's realization of assignment. Not one church kept out in the give and take of this work except you. You were the only one. Even when I was at Thessalonica, you helped out. It's not once but twice. It's just what he said. He said, I was with the Thessalonian people. And they wouldn't help me. I'm in Thessalonica with these folks. And I'm not even with you. You blessing me. And I'm with, they're getting the blessing and they ain't blessing back. Isn't that funny? I'm going to say about that too. He said, I'm with the Thessalonian people. And you still help me. Not them. I'm with them. So that's how you know he's hurt by it. Because he can recall it. You know, you can't recall it with that kind of detail. He remembers. I'm not even there, y'all. He said, y'all really love me. Y'all really appreciate my work. Everybody will not appreciate your work. Sometimes you have some Thessalonians in your life. And not Philippians. Thank God for the Philippians God assigned, see. Because sometimes you got to work with Thessalonians. Everybody ain't going to be a Philippian. I preach about it. He said, but when I was there, you helped me out twice. He says, and it's not that I was looking for handouts, but I do want you to experience the blessing that issues from generosity. He said, I was cool with it or without it. He said, but I realized it, so I wasn't looking for no handouts. He said, but I do want you to understand something. That when you are generous, that when you bless somebody that's doing work, he said, you don't realize. He said, some blessings will come after you. Yeah, it's going to be an asset to you. You're going to bless me. I'm going to be blessed by it. But I promise you, when you bless somebody, when you bless the ministry, when you bless somebody who's doing something for God, when you bless something when God's hand is on somebody's life, when you bless them, it's going to come back and be an asset to your life. When you bless somebody who's doing the work of God, whether it be in church or they're doing ministry, they're making a difference. When you bless God's people, my God, When you bless somebody with mission to go, God's going to come and make sure you're blessed. He says, so when you're blessing, it always is going to come back. So I want to say to you, brothers and sisters, have the realization of your assignment. Realization of your assignment. When you go to Macedonia, know what you're doing. You run into trouble, that's still know what you're doing. Realization of assignment. Secondly, you're going to rather get assistance from certain people. Rather. You'll never get back from people what you gave to them. Not the same ones. But I'm here to tell you, but God will always put a Philippian in your life. The Thessalonian is the taker. The Philippian is going to be the provider. Matter of fact, you ought to go through your phone and beside that name, right? Thessalonian, this is a Thessalonian, this is a Philippian. So every time they call, you know that's a Thessalonian call it. Let me get my mind right. And you better realize, when the Thessalonians, because sometimes the Thessalonians aren't on assignment, it's your emotions. Some of you got Thessalonians in your family. God ain't sent you there, they just take us. So you got to know when that going to Thessalonica is your assignment or know when it's your emotion. Stop letting takers rob you of your joy. Because some folk will rob you of everything and suck the life out of you and the energy out of you and leave you by the road dead. So every assignment, if this is my assignment or it's my guilt, my emotions, I feel like I got to help everybody. God ain't told you to help everybody. The reason why I know that, God ain't told you to save everybody. How do I know that? That's so mean. God ain't told you to save everybody. Well, how do you know that? Because God ain't going to save everybody. If Jesus couldn't save everybody, what make you think you can? What do you mean Jesus said, well, that's going to be a hell? So that's going to be a hell, that means everybody going to be saved. So if Jesus couldn't save everybody, what make you think you can't save everybody in your family now? So you better pray to ask God, who show you where you want me to go. Because Thessalonians will suck the life out of you and leave you dead by the way. But by the blessing but God will put a Philippian in your life who can sow in your life, who can support you, who can pray for you, who can love you without condition. So that goes. Stay focused on your goal. Realize you won't get a whole lot of gifts from people that you bless. But there's a blessing in generosity. Because when people bless you, when you bless others, when you bless a man or woman of God who's doing the work, whether it be to start a business, whether it be church, ministry, when you bless somebody, I'm telling you, God will bless you back. Okay? You can't help everybody. You can't save everybody. You can't. Listen, you can't. So get your phone and make sure you put, this is Thessalonian, this is a Philippian. And make sure that you know who the people are. Some people are takers, some people are givers. Realization of assignment, radical assistance. But that's reciprocity and generosity. He says, because when you give, when you bless somebody with a heart, it's going to come back. Thank God for the people who blessed you. Thank God for the Philippians. Okay? Stop trying to be a Messiah. Some of you are codependent. You need to feel special. That's your problem. Some of you are Thessalonica too long because you need it to make you feel better. Because you're codependent on them. You need that dependence to make you feel better. That's what it is. Some of you are in codependent, which I'm going to talk about that next week. You're in codependent relationships where you need to be the savior. See? And some of you who date people, some of you everybody you date is a project. You don't want a partner. You need a project. You need to be saving somebody. Stop asking God to give you projects and give you a partner. But sometimes you're going after projects needing to save somebody. It's because of a deficit in you. Because you need to be needed. There's a hole in you. So that's why you keep running to Thessalonica and avoid the Philippians. Some of you, God may have a man or woman that wants to be a Philippian to bless you. But you've been hanging out with Thessalonians so long that you think that a project is supposed to be your permanent abode. Ask God. Show me the difference between who the Thessalonians, who the Philippians. Okay? I know it's supposed to hurt, but it ain't supposed to hurt always. Okay? Who are the Philippians in your life? Who who are the Thessalonians in your life. Stop running to Thessalonica. Stop giving everything you got to Thessalonians and have somebody in your life who can pour back in you. I hope you got some out of this lesson today. I hope you got some out of this lesson today. But God got a Philippians for you. Out of all the Thessalonians who've been out there that'll take us, God has a Philippians for you. Thank God for the Philippians who love you, who will pour back in your life. You've been watching More to Do this morning. Hope you got something. Y'all might be quiet on this Al Gore's Worldwide Information Highway this morning, but I know I'm telling the truth. Realization of assignment, you're ready to get assistance. That's reciprocity and assets. Ask God to show me who the Thessalonians are, who the Philippians are. Love will hurt sometimes, because you're going to bless some Thessalonians who don't care anything about you. But understand the assignment. And don't be in Thessalonica. Don't be in Thessalonica unless God sent you there. And you go there and get out of there quick. Okay? Because people can be leeches and they'll leave you dead. Okay? God's got somebody who wants to pull back in your life. You got to put gas in the car. And if all you got in your life is Thessalonians, you're not going to live long. Ask God to put some Philippians in your life that can pour back into you and support you. If you don't want to loan anybody money, nobody can give you nothing, you're surrounded by a bunch of Thessalonians. Ask God to put some Philippians in your life. Gifts, goals, gifts, generosity. You're watching More Than Do. Until next time, if you be good to God, God be good to you.